Now, on a sketch of an Argand diagram, we have to shade the region whose points represent complex numbers z that satisfy these two inequalities. We're talking about two things here. दोनों के अलग-अलग loci बनेंगे. But first of all, we need to understand what these things represent. So z minus 2 minus 2 iota cum modulus is less than or equal to 1. So we first convert it to that form that we talked about. Take minus common and write it like that, z minus 2 plus 2 iota. So this is our point of reference here. So distance of z from 2 plus 2 iota has to be less than or equal to 1. So let me write that in words here. Distance of z from 2 plus 2 iota is less than or equal to 1. And that's what we are given. This is how we read this. Similarly, we do it the same thing for the other thing that we have. Argument of z minus 4 iota. Now this is already of that form, so minus pi over 4. So we're talking about the argument, the angle of z from 4 iota, or we actually say from the horizontal line drawn at 4 iota is greater than or equal to minus pi over 4. So do you understand these two statements?
Is
that okay, Isha? Sarah?
Got it.
Okay, now let's draw this. Right? So it's a 4-mark question, so it's going to require some thinking. This is our imaginary axis. This is the real axis. Which 2 points are we talking about? So one is 2 plus 2 iota, and the other is 4 iota. Okay, let's mark these points here first. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and minus 1 and so on. On the other side, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 1, minus 2. Okay. So 2 plus 2 iota, where is that point going to be? That's 2 and 2. That's right here. This is the first point. Okay, we have marked that here. The other point is 4 iota. That is going to be right here. This is the other point. Okay. Now, how can we be less than or equal to 1 unit away from this point? What do you think?
It's going to be a circle.
Yeah, it will be a circle. So we're talking about one single point, right? 8 points of distance should be less than a specific number. We draw a circle with center this and radius. Radius kya hoega?
1.
Radius 1. Okay, so we draw a circle here. You should use a compass for this. Make sure you draw a square grid or usko use karke circle bana le. So this is what I'm getting. Okay, so this is the first locus, and of course we can be anywhere inside this. इसके अंदर कहीं पे भी हो सकते हैं. So we can be anywhere inside this circle. इसके अंदर कहीं भी हो सकते हैं. So this is the locus of these points. This yellow part. Let's think about the other one. So the point of reference there is 4 iota. 4 iota के ऊपर आप एक horizontal line बना भी सकते हैं. उसको बनाना जरूरी नहीं है, बट आपको सोचना इस तरह है कि यहाँ पे अगर एक horizontal line होती 4 iota के ऊपर, उससे आप angle measure करते. कितना angle measure करते? Minus pi over 4. On which side is that going to be? Minus pi over 4. Minus pi over 4. कहाँ पर होएगा?
It's going to be below the line. Like
Below the
directly.
line on the right side. exactly. So below the line on the right side. So you draw that here. So 𝗫/4 angle, remember क्या होता है? 45 degrees.
40.
है ना? So when you draw that here, अब देखिए 4 से start कर रहे हैं, तो 45 degrees के ऊपर जो line बनेगी, this line is actually going to be like this. और ये यहाँ पे ना center से pass करेगी, इस center से. The reason for that is, देखिए 45 degrees की line है ना, so जितना वो distance horizontally travel कर रही होगी, उतना ही vertically travel कर रही होगी. इस 2 पे जाएंगे यहाँ पे, तो यहाँ पे 2 पे आ जाएगी. So y equals -x line वाली direction होती है. So it's going to be like this. अब देखें, 1 unit right, 1 unit down, that's this point. 1 unit more right, 1 unit more down, that's this point. ये center से यहाँ पे pass कर रही होगी line. Does that make sense? Yes, no?
Yes. Yes.
This angle is -𝗫/4. All right, now we have to draw this locus उसने कहा हुआ था. Now let me just erase that previous thing that I did, shading that I did earlier. Let's think about those inequalities now. ठीक है, हमने drawing तो यही करनी थी. Now we have to shade the exact part that represents these regions. So we have to be inside this circle. This circle. एक तो ये condition है. That's coming from this. You have to be anywhere inside the circle. But this, what is the second thing telling us? Angle has to be greater than or equal to -𝗫/4. Which side should we be here? इसके ऊपर line के या नीचे?
Sir, ऊपर क्योंकि the closer it is to 0, the greater the value, क्योंकि negative है.
Yes, so negative में तो values आपकी जितनी magnitude छोटा आएगा, उतनी values असल में बड़ी होंगी. So the closer you get to 0, your values will be bigger. So you have to be above this line, right? So you have to be inside the circle and at the same time above this line. So the region that represents this locus is this semicircle that you have here. The semicircle is going to represent color. Is that okay? Any questions on this?
Sir, could you please also like do an example? What if they had said कि find the least or the greatest argument circle के लिए, for example, अगर ढूंढना होता z
Okay.
minus 2 plus 3 होता.
Okay, let's actually complete this. Iska the second part hai, it asks for something like that. It's about the magnitude. Okay, so it says find the least value. Now we have to think about it very carefully. My notations clear when you say least value of imaginary z. What does that mean? IMZ. इसका क्या मतलब?
Least y value.
Least
So
y
least
value.
like iota values the value.
Exactly.
Like y-axis.
Yes. So basically, least value on the vertical axis. Imaginary part of z सबसे छोटा कब होगा? Now remember, z can be anywhere in this shaded part. What is the lowest point on this? What is the lowest point on the circle? So if you were to just mark that point is going to be right here. This is the lowest point in that region. Does that make sense? Imaginary part सबसे छोटा होना चाहिए ना? तो vertically आपका imaginary part represent हो रहा है. When is that the smallest? सबसे lowest point आपका ये level बनता है इस shaded part के अंदर. ठीक है? But then it says you have to find the least value of imaginary z for points in this region. Yeah, you have to find that value. अभी तो मैं सिर्फ graph पे represent कर लिया. Okay, so we have to find the least value of this imaginary, of this point, least imaginary value of this point. So basically, इसका y coordinate या imaginary coordinate हमें ये find करना है. इसका यहाँ पे value क्या होगी? ठीक है? So how can we find that? Any ideas about this?
Are we going to solve the equation of the circle and the equation of the line simultaneously?
Okay, so that's one idea. That's a very good idea. But remember, it's only 2 marks. It's only 2 marks. That will be a lot of effort.
Here we have the value of the points that are cutting the y and the x-axis. So and the radius of the circle is going to be 2. Radius, the diameter of the circle is going to be 2. So we can just like, subtract इसमें से, then divide by 2 will have the length of the slanting line or there an angle हमारे पास 45 degrees है, and then we can just find the y वाला part, cos या sin 45 degree.
Okay, so that was a perfectly valid idea, by the way. Finding the equation of the circle and then finding the equation of the line. They're fairly straightforward. और उनका फिर आप simultaneously solve कर लेते and find the value of y that represents. एक value of y आपकी ये वाली आ जाएगी ऊपर वाली, एक ही नीचे वाली आ जाएगी, so you consider the lowest value. So that's perfectly valid. You can do that. That will work here. The other possibility is that you think about this right angle triangle that Mania suggested about. So we've got the angle on that. We've got this right angle triangle. We know the angle is 45. So basically we're talking about this right angle. मैं यहाँ पे एक triangle बना रहा हूँ. That looks like this. Okay. And we have this angle 45 degrees. Okay. We do not know about the length as such. इसके हमें ये vertical length तो नहीं पता, but whatever is the vertical length here, so let's call that y. And
the vertical or horizontal lengths will be 4.
Yeah. So we're talking about. Are you talking about the whole triangle?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we could also do it that way. So I was just thinking about the smaller triangle. We can also do that. Say you have total length आ जाएगी. Yes, that's actually going to be quicker. Yeah, that's true. Let's consider the complete triangle. So complete triangle के अंदर, you know these lengths. This is 4. This is 4. What is your hypotenuse going to be? If this is
132.
132. 8 square is equal to square root of 4 square plus 4 square. That is square root of 32. We have to use the exact value, so we just keep it like this. This whole length is square root of 32. You know the radius of the circle? What is that? The radius is 1.
1.
Diameter क्या हो जाएगा? That's 2. Okay. But what does that give us now?
That gives us the horizontal length of the portions of the line that are outside the circle. So उसको अगर divide by 2 कर दें तो हमारे पास like एक section आ जाएगा.
लेकिन हमें सिर्फ imaginary part चाहिए. We're not concerned about the slanted part. Right? Do you get that? हमें vertical part चाहिए. Yeah, so we can do it that way. So that's fine. So we can say this is we've got the whole length. This total length is square root of 32. ठीक है. उसमें से अगर हमें इतनी length find करनी हो, let's actually mark these points. Let's call this point A. Let's call this point B. AB length अगर हमें figure out करनी हो, for instance, हम उसको कर सकते हैं. AB length क्या होगी? AB length is going to be the whole thing, that is square root of 32. Subtract from that this middle part, that is 2. And divide the whole thing by 2 because आपके पास एक नीचे वाला part है, एक ऊपर वाला part है. You only want one of these two parts. That's going to be this thing. So AB equals square root of 32 minus 2. All right. AB आपने निकाल लिया. But what were we interested in? We were interested in this vertical length. Vertical length कैसे निकल आएगी अब?
Sin या cos 45.
Yes, but do we need to go there? वो भी कर सकते हैं. That's perfectly okay. Or we also know that this is the triangle that we have. This is the triangle. इसकी length, इसकी horizontal length भी same है, vertical length भी same है. Let's call this x, both of them. The angle is 45 और ये हमारे पास square root of 32 minus 2 over 2, right? So you can use Pythagoras as well. So x square plus x square equals square root of 32 minus 2 over 2 का whole square. ठीक है, अब इसको simplify कर सकते हो. It's also got quite long actually, so there should have been a quicker way of doing this as well, but that for now it works. 32 minus 2 का whole square divided by 4. 4 उधर ये वाला 2 भी उधर आ गया, it becomes divided by 8. फिर हम यहाँ पे x square कर दें, and then that vertical height therefore would be square root of this, that is square root of square root of 32 minus 2 divided by 8. ऊपर तो नहीं आएगा, ऊपर स्क्वायर रूट कैंसिल हो जाएगा, सिर्फ नीचे रह जाएगा. सॉरी, we have this एक ऊपर वाला स्क्वायर कैंसिल हो जाएगा. We're going to be left with square root of 32 minus 2 divided by square root of 8. This is what we get. Is that okay?
It's only a 2-mark question, so isn't there a shorter way of doing this?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. There should be a shorter way. So we didn't think about that. There should be a quicker way of this. It's quite long. The circle way is also quite long. So let's think about something else here. What else could we do? Okay, so one idea could be that we use this triangle. This triangle. Can you see that? This angle is 45. अगर angle 45 is isosceles triangle है ना, तो ये length, ये vertical length है यहाँ पे, let's call this whatever, let's call this x, and this length, they are equal. So we can find this vertical length from here. Can we do that? Think about this triangle in the middle. Okay, so we've got, so I'll draw that here on the side. This is the triangle in which this hypotenuse is the diameter of the circle, that is 2. Can you figure out these two lengths? ये बाकी दोनों lengths ये कितनी होंगी? These are equal, remember, because the angle is 45. ये 45 degrees होंगी. You get x square plus x square, that is equal to 2 का square. Sorry, that's equal to 2 का square. That's 2x square equals 4. X की value क्या आ जाएगी? Square root of 2. Does that make sense? So now we have found this square root of 2. Okay, ये हमें square root of 2 मिल गया. We have two lengths left after this. One is above that and one is below that. These are going to be equal. आप क्या कह सकते हो? You can say y plus square root of 2 plus y. This equals 4. And that will give you a result. So that's going to be 4 minus square root of 2 divided by 2. You could also do it this way. Does this make sense? आपको सिर्फ एक triangle use करनी पड़ी और आपके पास ये length आ गई. So that's a vertical. Somebody was saying something. I'm sorry, I cut you off in the middle.
No, sir, मैं ये कह रही थी.
Okay, all right. So any problems on this? Does this make sense? It's quite tricky. So इसमें आपको थोड़ा सोचना पड़ता है. You have to use trigonometry or Pythagoras theorem sometimes. So that is what we have to do there. But the concept of complex number is not that difficult. वो आप यहाँ से figure out कर लो एक दफा, तो उसके बाद फिर आपको वो होता है कि आप कोई trigonometry apply करके you have to somehow figure those things out. Let me know if you have any questions on this. Otherwise, I will just take out one more question. If you have time, we can do that question that Sarah talked about. We were talking about least or greatest value of the argument. Just searching for that. Okay. So what we have here is we've got a complex number 2 plus 2 iota. That's denoted by this. The first part, the modulus argument find करना है. I'm sure you can do that. Now the second and third part, we'll have to do the both of these. So let's think about this. So we've got three complex numbers, 1, iota, and u. These are three different numbers. Okay, u आपको prove कर दिया हुआ, that's 2 plus 2 iota. Then you have to shade these regions. तो उसने यहाँ पे दिया हमें, फिर draw कर लेते हैं. Then we will think about this. We've got the real axis, we've got the imaginary axis. The 3 points that we have are 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 1 point is going to be, it's only a real number, so that's here. 1 point aa gaya. Then you've got iota, so that's right here. That's the other point. U, that is given to be 2 plus 2 iota. That is going to be here. These are the 3 points that we are given. Okay, now we have to sketch and show the points representing complex numbers such that they satisfy both of these inequalities. Z minus 1 modulus is less than or equal to Z minus iota modulus. How do you understand this? Distance of Z from 1 is less than or equal to distance of Z from iota. So we're talking about two different points. जिनसे distance की बात हो रही है. What kind of locus is that going to be?
Perpendicular bisector.
Perpendicular bisector. So we draw a perpendicular bisector here. That may look something like this. ये इसका perpendicular bisector. Okay, so you have to be careful. You have to, understand that it passes through this point, because देखिए 1 ये point है ना, एक 1 ये point है. So इनका जो perpendicular bisector होगा, it's like this line y equals x line. 45 degrees के ऊपर वो 2 के अंदर से भी pass कर रही होगी. That is something that, so this is an intuition that you need to have for this. कि वो exactly कहाँ से pass कर रहा होगा. Otherwise, if you don't have it, if you don't understand it right away, just make sure जो फिर आप diagram draw करें, that is to scale then. So फिर आप perpendicular bisector जो है वो compass से properly draw करें, तो फिर automatically it will pass through this point. आपको वहां से समझ आ जाएगा. अगर आप sketch कर रहे हैं सिर्फ और accuracy इतनी अच्छी नहीं है, then you have to understand कि जब वो कहाँ से pass करेगा perpendicular bisector. For example, 1 और 1 है यहाँ पे, it has to pass through the origin. It also has to pass through this point. Is that okay?
Yes.
Then we have Z minus U less than or equal to 1. So Z minus U modulus is less than or equal to 1. So basically distance from U has to be less than or equal to 1. So once is the point U here, this is the point U, right? Is the distance has to be less than or equal to 1. What kind of locus is this going to be?
It's a circle with radius 1 and center U.
Exactly. So it's a circle with radius 1 and center this U. We draw a circle here. You will use a compass for this. So this is what we have. All right. Now let's see what it says then. So आपके पास exact regions अब कौन से होंगे? You have to be, so the distance from 1 is less than or equal to the distance from iota. 1 से distance कम होना चाहिए, iota से ज़्यादा होना चाहिए. तो जो line बनाई है हमने, जो perpendicular bisector बनाया, उससे किस side पर होंगे? Are going to be below this or above this? Below this or above this? Below, because we have to be closer to 1 and farther away from I. So closer to 1 का मतलब है इस line से नीचे होंगे. Okay. Distance of Z from U is less than or equal to 1, so we have to be inside the circle. So what is the region then? Inside the circle and below the line, that's this part, this semicircle that you have here. These are the points that represent the locus that we're talking about there. Okay. Any issues with this?
No, this is fine.
Now the second part is what is actually a bit trickier. So it says calculate the value of modulus of z for the point in the region for which the argument of z is least. Okay, argument of z. So there's a complex number. Iska argument है. Now what can so this is the same complex number जिसके हम पहले बात करें. This complex number can be anywhere in this shaded part. Okay. Now where is the argument of z going to be minimum? सबसे कम किधर होएगा? इस shaded part के अंदर. So remember argument क्या represent कर रहा होता है? Angle from the origin. इस point से हम angle देख रहे हैं कहाँ पर है? So यहाँ से कुछ भी हो सकता है. देखें, it can be here in this region, it could be here, here, कहीं भी हो सकता है यहाँ पे. बिल्कुल ये नीचे point पर आके यहाँ पर आके हमारा argument minimum होता है, जहाँ पे बिल्कुल circle को touch कर रहे हैं. So that it's a tangent at that point. Right? So ये देखें यहाँ पे कुछ भी हो सकता था. इसको कम करते जाएं angle को, तो नीचे आते जाएं, तो आते आते lowest is going to be when it's just touching the circle like this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the least argument is going to be when it's just touching the circle like this. And so when we're touching the circle, we are barely, in that shaded part. और आपका argument इससे थोड़ा सा भी नीचे होगा तो हम shaded part से बाहर चले जाएंगे. So lowest argument ये हो सकता है. ठीक है? अब for this point, हमें इसका modulus find करना है. Right? हमें इसका argument नहीं चाहिए, हमें इसका modulus चाहिए. That point is somewhere here. Now you have to use circle properties for this. Complex numbers वाला part यहाँ पे खत्म हो गया, right? So we have figured out this point. And now it's simple trigonometry and circle properties. आपको figure out करना है इस line की length कितनी है. So whatever this point is, let's call this point P. ये हमारा origin है. OP length find करनी है हमें. OP length हमें figure out करनी है. That will be the modulus of z, right? Z का magnitude इस point का origin से distance कितना है. So now we think about, what rules of circles or trigonometry we can use here. We know this is a tangent. If you were to draw a line here, the radius is perpendicular to the tangent. ये perpendicular हो जाएगा. We know the radius कितना था? Radius is 1. This is 1. Okay. And do we know the hypotenuse? Do we know OC?
That's going to be the modulus of the complex number.
Modulus of the complex number, exactly. तुमने first part में find किया था, वही आप यहाँ पे निकाल सकते हो. Otherwise, you can just look at the figure. Just look at the figure. You've got this side 2. You've got this side 2, right? This is the hypotenuse. Okay, those sides आपको given है. Right angle triangle के अंदर you can find the hypotenuse from that. So OC हमारे पास क्या आ जाता? OC square is equal to 2 का square plus 2 का square, and that's going to be equal to square root of 8. Okay, OC आ गया. That's square root of 8. Now we use this triangle. एक हमारे पास square root of 8 है यहाँ पे. This length is 1. We have to figure out OP. Okay, OP कैसे निकलेगा? OP square, again you'll be using Pythagoras. OP square plus 1 ka square should be equal to square root of 8 ka whole square, and that gives you the length OP, which is OP square equals 8 minus 1, and OP turns out to be equal to square root of 7, which is your modulus of z. Modulus z हमारे पास क्या आ गया? Square root of 7 आ गया. So we had this length 1, we had the hypotenuse, we figured that out, and this is the third length that we have to find. O se leke P ka distance. We use Pythagoras for that and get square root of 7 from there. So that's the argument that's the modulus of z such that the argument is minimum, given that you're inside the shaded region. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, no problem. So that's it then for today. We stop here and let's meet again next Tuesday, inshallah. If you have any questions, you can also post on the WhatsApp group. I'll try to respond there as well. Otherwise, we can discuss this in our live classes as well. So earlier, what we decided last week was कि हम कुछ papers discuss कर लिया करेंगे, but the turnout is not very good in the live classes. So I would say then whoever comes in the live classes, then if they have any specific questions, we can perhaps just discuss those. या फिर specific topic discuss करना है तो वो discuss कर लें. So that's the other idea that we have. So what do you think? So the three of you are here. Would you prefer past papers, doing past papers, or just specific questions like we did today?
I think generally everyone's doing past papers on their own. So there are certain questions like these complex numbers, case study, last order parts, and like confusing things. So maybe we can just discuss that.
Yeah, okay. So I think, yeah, let's do that then. So whoever has any individual questions that they want to discuss, any specific questions from any papers, we can do that in the live classes then, depending on whoever is there in the class that day. Yeah, okay. All right, so that's it then. Let's meet again next Tuesday then. And in the meantime, if you have any problems, up WhatsApp group पे भी post कर सकते हो. I'll try my best to answer them as soon as I can. All right. Anything else?
No, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're all welcome. Thank you so much. And see you again on Tuesday. Allah Hafiz.
That was.
Love to say.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.